Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. I'm glad to be with you again today. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're sound. I hope you're safe. Here we explore the things we can do to experience more joy at work, and I hope you're able to put some of these things into practice with yourself or in a small group. And the more people that do some of these things, the more joy we can collectively experience. So we're going to wrap up talking about pausing and slowing down, basically the unhurried life in the work context. And I've said over the last few weeks that we live in a society, the culture is always pressing on us, especially in this postmodern or modern era in the West with industrialization. Everyone's talking about AI and just doing things even more quickly. We have this focus on just doing more in a shortened time. Press, 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 press. People are sending emails at all times of the day, expecting responses at all times. There is this bias to action. We need to get things done quickly. And as I've said, like these things in and of themselves may not be wrong, but when uncontrolled, then they begin to like dominate and run our lives. And that puts us in a precarious situation where we're not really making the best decisions we could make for ourselves. We're not experiencing things the way we should experience them. Our time here on this planet is actually relatively short. Even if you live to 100 years, put that in the perspective of how long the planet's been around. It's basically a blink of an eye. So it's not a long time. And so for whatever time we are here, we have to find the right rhythms, the right pace to just grapple and move forward in life. And so as we kind of bring this series to an end with pausing and reflecting, I'm reminded about curiosity over judgment. And I sometimes jump to conclusions, as I think many of us do, but to speak for myself, prematurely. And I think that's part of, again, this practice we have of just rushing. When somebody's not on a call, when they're supposed to be on the call, jumping to the conclusion, especially if they haven't said anything, jumping to the conclusion that they're about to stand me up or they don't value my time. But what if they've just had a situation? I had that happen twice this week where people were late for calls, and I began to really tell myself stories about why they were late for the calls instead of just hanging on the call, which I did. So I give myself some credit for that. But I stayed on the call. And when they joined the call, they explained to me what had happened and why they were late, and they were so apologetic. That's curiosity. And we can only be curious, in my viewpoint, if we slow down and wait for all the information to come in. If we're in a rush to to form an opinion, to make a judgment, to act, to have a decision, then we will often miss pertinent information that matters. I've said this in several vlogs. Like, of course, the time to do this is not when your house is burning down. Sure, you need to act right there and then because the danger is imminent. But in so many other situations, we can actually pause and wait for the information to come in. We can say, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'm not going to be hurried. I'm going to be unhurried. So many leaders and managers make bad decisions, even about the people on their teams, because they get a piece of information and they don't pause and say, let me wait till everything comes in. They act and respond immediately. Fortunately, our society doesn't have a negative feedback loop that helps people calibrate that behavior. And we tend to promote those kinds of people and say they have a bias for action, they get things done, and we don't care about how they got the thing done. So it can be kind of tough living by the principles I'm offering here. But I think when we pause, we treat people better, we treat ourselves better, and that works out for everybody. So it doesn't matter sort of, what you really after if you don't contribute to making the lives of those who you work with, the lives of those around you better, then really what's the purpose? What's the purpose? So here's a call to being curious over being judgmental and suggesting to you that in order to do that, you gotta pause, you gotta slow down. You cannot hurry yourself. When you find or just feel yourself jumping to that conclusion, like is a human nature thing to do. We've got to fill in the blanks. That's part of being human. We want to fill in the blanks. Pause, say to yourself, maybe I just need to wait for some more information to come in. I'm not going to allow this immediate response to be the response I lead with. I'm going to wait and see what else happens. And then maybe doing that, you'll treat others better, you'll be less stressed, less anxiety, and you'll experience even more joy at work. All right. Hope this series on pausing and slowing down and not being hurried, or adopting an unhurried approach to work, was beneficial to you. Next week, we're going to dive into something else. Not sure what. If you got any suggestions, let me know. I'll see you next time. Be well. Bye.